Breaking news from the Y channel, where children from all around the world are asking questions adults are not ready for and leaving us completely speechless. Think back to when you've been caught off guard by a child asking you where babies come from or why boys and girls are different. And just like that, panic sets in. Many of us' first reaction is shock. Shocked at the fact that a child at this age is asking such a question. Then we suddenly get nervous and struggle to come up with an answer. But what if these type of questions are random? What if these questions are giving us a glimpse of how children think and understand the world? Before we get into it, it's important to understand what sexuality means in middle childhood. According to the World Health Organization, sexuality is how individuals understand their bodies, relationship, and identity. Therefore, at this age, sexuality is expressed through more of a curiosity and learning lens, where children are curious about their bodies, differences, and their understanding of privacy and trying to form ideas about relationships. Today, myself, Akanksha, Laura, and Zach will be exploring and focusing on different areas on how sexuality influences cognitive, social, emotional, physical development during middle childhood. Starting off with cognitive development, we're going to look into how children think, understand, and make sense of their sexuality. Who best to describe how children think and understand things more than John Piaget? He describes children as little scientists who are constantly creating theories and figuring how things work. According to Kale and Zollner, this part of the cognitive development perspective where children are trying to actively work on understanding and making sense of what's happening around them. Piaget developed 4 different stages that explain how children understand and organize their experiences. Around the age of 7, before they reach adolescence, children become more organized in their thought and ideas. They think more clearly and logically, and they learn to see things from different perspectives and point of views. According to the article called Steps of Sexuality, Cacciatore and her colleagues studied the cognitive aspect of sexual development in children. The research highlights that children interpret information in simple and concrete ways. To add on, the research also highlights that children also start to show an understanding and privacy in regards to their bodies, and they start respecting both their own and others' privacy as well. So when we connect it all together, we can conclude that children are actively working on making sense of sexuality and using their thinking skills to make it easier. While they are able to understand basic facts like body differences, but the more heavy stuff like emotions and relationship is something they still don't grasp, and that's okay. As they age, they'll learn more and more, and with the guidance of a supportive adult, will make this a positive difference in their lives. And maybe next time a child comes up to you and asks you an out-of-pocket question, we won't be as panicked. Now that we understand how children think, let's pass it over to Akanksha, who will explain how sexuality connects to social development.
Thank you so much, Ella, for sharing your thoughts today. Today we are focusing on children between the age of 6 to 12 and asking an important question. How do they develop socially during these years? At this stage, children start forming stronger friendships and begin to understand teamwork, cooperation, and fairness. They are no longer just playing side by side, but actually building meaningful relationships. But here's something to think about. Why do friendships become so important at this age? According to Kakator, children's development include important social and emotional learning that helps them build relationships and understand others. Children in this stage often look for acceptance from their peers. They learn how to share, solve conflicts, and communicate their thoughts and feelings. At the same time, they also become more aware of social rules and expectations. So we can ask, what happens if a child struggles to fit in or feels left out? Overall, social development in middle childhood is about learning how to connect with others, build friendships, and understand their place in a group. These experiences play a big role in shaping their confidence and future relationships. And with that, I'll now pass it on to Laurel to continue.
Thank you, Akanksha. When it comes to the emotional development of children through middle childhood in regard to sexuality, there are multiple important factors and findings to consider. Firstly, it's important to understand the context and foundations of the development of sexuality from an emotional standpoint. The International Journal of Sexual Health highlights love as a central emotion in human sexuality, going on to discuss the ways that children in middle childhood stage typically express the development of sexuality through the expression of feelings of love, affection, and closeness. Examples of this in middle childhood can include hugging, kissing, and hand-holding with both peers and close grown-ups, as well as with love and romance being integral themes in children's play during this stage, especially for girls. The article also discusses a study that was executed in a Finnish daycare, which found that 14% of daycare personnel had reported hearing children talk about their infatuation with other children on a daily basis, and 49% had witnessed expressions such as hugging and kissing between children often. Interviews of children themselves also suggest that many children fall in love for the first time during middle childhood, typically between the age of 6 and 9 years. The emotional development that children experience through sexuality is something that they experience together through their play and social interactions. And while many aspects of these childhood relationships contrast to adult models of relationships, they still hold importance in the natural developmental process. Another important piece of the development of sexuality in middle childhood comes when children begin to reach an age and awareness level where they're able to confront and recognize differences in their attractions and experiences in relation to those of their peers. According to Shu and Raman from the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry, it is typically in late middle childhood leading into early adolescence that children begin to recognize any same-sex attractions they are experiencing. The article discusses how these realizations can be difficult on the child emotionally, with this study finding that when measured at ages 5, 7, 11, and 14, bisexuality and homosexuality in both boys and girls were connected to displays of greater emotional and behavioral difficulties in these children in comparison to their heterosexual counterparts. As well as this, the displays of emotional and behavioral difficulty were even more significant among asexual children, also both male and female. Shu and Raman highlight the fact that these emotional and behavioral difficulties such as depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and suicide in higher frequencies than heterosexual children can be traced back to minority stress, social discrimination, stigma, rejection, internalized shame, and bullying, among other experiences. For educators, having this knowledge of the developmental stage children are experiencing in middle childhood when it comes to the development of sexuality, as well as remaining informed about the emotional changes that can form as a side effect of these natural developments and the emotional impacts of recognizing and coping with othered sexual identities in childhood, can help to ensure that the children in your care can be provided with the most effective support, understanding, and resources as they face these developments. Now I will pass it over to Zach to discuss the links between sexuality and physical development.
Thanks for that. Now we'll be talking about how sexuality affects physical development in the latter years. As stated in the chronological approach by Robert V. Kale and Theresa Zollner, children around the age of 9 to 11 start to explore self-pleasure and just the areas that are more private, and this is completely normal as they're just exploring what they have and what they think they'll like. And this is mostly done in private and around, like in bed. And in public and with their friends and in future relationships, they'll start by doing hand-holding, kissing, and maybe some hugs, with more advanced things starting later in life after the latter years. As children start to go through puberty, they start to explore what they like about themselves, and often in a sexual context. So to end the show today, we hope this helped you understand how important it is to have age-appropriate conversations with your children when they ask questions, or just to inform them. Thank you for tuning in to the Y Channel, and have a great rest of your day, and see you on the next episode.